Gates Adams here on behalf of Apex Trader Funding, and I am here today back again with Michel. I didn't think it had been 9 months or so since we'd spoken, but as we reconnected here before this interview, I guess maybe it was in January when we last spoke. Michel, welcome back. I'm just pleased to have you back in here and chatting with me. One of the things that I always say I like to do is really catch up with traders after they've had that initial sort of pop of success and really start to dig deeper into what consistency and long-term success looks like. Were you already pretty consistent, or was this maybe like a first couple of payouts for you?
It was like first couple of payouts, yeah.
Gotcha.
Not so consistent. It was like here and there a payout, but also blown PAs, blown evaluations, but here and there a payout. But for me as a trader, for the past year, I had like a really growth curve because the blown accounts are actually almost zero. The consistency is there, accepting the losses is there. So now it's more like a consistent trader, yeah,
awesome.
I would say.
Now, I want to dig into this a little bit because, of course, everybody loves talking about the winning trades. But the reality is there's no strategy that's 100% winner. And I've said many times on these interviews and on the Trader Bacon show that one of the biggest skills a trader has to develop is to learn how to lose. Because it's not that we lose, it's not if we lose, it's how we lose that will be a big determining factor on our long-term success. So share with me just a little bit about what you've learned and how you've begun to handle this better than you were maybe a year ago.
To begin with, it's a fact. It's the biggest risk a trader faces, actually, not accepting losses. How I handled it, actually a little bit stupid maybe, but for me it works. When I lose a trade, I just shut my computer off and it's done for the day. And I never look at the charts for that day again.
I 100% would never consider a strategy stupid that is working, and apparently it's working.
Yeah, but for me it works. For me it works, yeah.
And that's the thing, So I think, and I often talk about how I feel like trading is sort of a mirror into who and what we are in the rest of our lives. And there's a lot of self-exploration that goes through the process of developing and growing as a trader. And I think that it's incredibly valuable and meaningful when you discover certain things about yourself in the world of trading or out. And I think that they will start to converge on one another. But you have figured out that for you, the best thing that you can do if you take a loss is to just be done. And
just quit for the day. Yeah.
And that's a lesson that is so hard for so many of us that we just do in fact struggle with. The first thing I want to do when I take a loss is I want to recoup that and then start again.
Revenge trading, that's the biggest risk. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I know early days of last year I was trading a strategy that was a negative or a less than one risk reward ratio. And that really messed with my psychology because I knew if I took a loss, it was going to take 3 wins to get back in the positive, which to me, I didn't have the patience at that time to handle that well. So I realized that at that time, that was not a good strategy for me. I think that, no matter what the end result is, as we start to really dig into who and what we are as traders, as people, we start to learn how to handle different scenarios. And it sounds like you've really made a big push in the right direction by just knowing that, hey, you know what, you might make it back, but what happens if you take 2 losses? Is that going to put you over the edge? Clearly, at this point, we've got a winning strategy in that, at least for where you are in your journey right now.
I just wanted to add to it. You can do a really good trade and still take a stop loss.
Sure.
So that and that's frustrating. So then, for me and maybe for other traders out there, it's really good to just shut the computer off and be done for the day.
Now, generally, are you just looking for one trade a day anyway? Or if you take a win, are you looking at taking another trade or 2 throughout the rest of the day? What does that look like for you?
Actually, it's like my strategy is 1 trade a day per account.
Okay.
So if I take a win on one account, I immediately switch to another account. For the psychology, to start with 0, to see like profit and loss 0, it's really good. But to start a trade off with minus 200 or plus 200, it messes with the psychology. Certainly. So for me, it's really good to start a trade with 0 profit and loss.
clean slate at every trade. So, okay, so again, I think that we start to look at where you are in your journey and what you have figured out. So what's been the net result of this? At this point, what's the longest PA that you have actively running?
Now 9 months.
9
From
months.
January until now.
That is an impressive level of consistency, which
9
tells
months.
us that you have figured some things out about Michiel. Now, this is not necessarily going to apply to every trader on the planet because we're all different. But this is what works for you, and you've not only taken this, but you've embraced it to the point that you now have a level of consistency that keeps a PA active and moving forward for 9 months. This is really where we all strive to get to, is to that level of consistency. But maybe there's a payout every month, maybe there's not. But
No, there's not. It's like also periods of consolidation and a little bit of drawdowns, and then you go back up, and it's with ups and downs, but it's still alive.
Well, you know, we talk about how time frames are fractal, but I think that this is also represented in our account balances. We'll see the rally, we'll see the consolidation, we'll see the pullback before we see the rally again. You know, it's the exact same thing.
Fact.
It's amazing how many things really sort of correlate in the world of trading if we will just take the time to see them and take positive and meaningful action on them. So what's next for you? Where do you go from here in your trading journey?
What I would love to do, to be honest, is to start with copy trading. Because I'm trading now for 2 years and a half, maybe almost 3, and I feel like I'm ready for it. So maybe I'll start with the Apex Copy Trader software and see what happens. And so just start with 1 or 2 evaluations and let them follow.
Well,
So
and
that's
just
next.
like anything in trading, it is a dynamic shift. And with any sort of dynamic shift, whether you're going from demo to eval to PA to cash, whatever the case may be, anytime you have a dynamic shift, there is usually a little bit of a pullback in results as you start to get comfortable with what you know is happening. You may not see it, but you know now that the risk is not just on one account, but on 2 or 3. And I think that your strategy is fantastic. Start doing that in evaluation mode where the risk is nominal. Get comfortable with that dynamic, because I don't know that dynamic shift would be as difficult moving from copying evaluations to copying PAs. I think once you kind of get used to it, it starts to really mesh a little bit better, and each milestone tends to get a little bit easier as you go. I love that.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, I love that. So at this point, we're maybe ready to start looking at doing some copy trading. And how many PAs do you typically trade at any given time? Not in one trade, but do you have in your arsenal?
I used to have 5, and now I have 3. Because the summertime was a little bit hard. I have to be really honest. But 3 are still alive.
Well, and of course that's the journey. It's a nonstop.
Of course, it's Of course, yeah. That's a game.
It's rally
sure.
and pull back, or whatever the case may be. So,
Yeah, true.
Congratulations on your continued success. And not only do we get to see how you've been able to be successful in the world of funded trading with Apex Trader Funding, but also how you've continued to grow and develop as a trader in your profitability, in your consistency, and all the things that ultimately will continue to lead to that increased level of success. Let's catch back up in a few months. Let's see where you are, after the first of the year, if that sounds good.
That sounds really good for me. Thank you, Gates.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. I appreciate it.
You too.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. We'll chat soon.